Fighting evil by midnight, George. Winning love by daylight. Never running from a real fight. She's the one. Sailor Moon.
She is the one. Sailor Moon. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Pre-Rendered. This is episode 4, and I am your host, George, simply Georges Benitez, and here I have with me Wade Aquaman Sheridan. How you doing, Wade?
Yes, Aquaman is a perfect way to describe me because I have been playing Injustice. But before we get into that, I want to give a shout out to Tadao Matsuyama, who wrote a comment on our last episode saying, I thought Resident Evil 5 was a good game, and you, sir, are correct. I like you. Me and you have similar interests. And I also just want to say that because of the good folks over at PlayStation Plus, they're going to be offering Resident Evil 6 for, I think, about $15, and I plan on picking that up. So you or anyone wants to play with me, Resident Evil 6, my PSN tag is Superhero MRX. Go for it. I dare you.
I would also like to give a shout out to Tadao because he's awesome.
And also I have with me is Rico, #YellowSwag. Gale.
Hello. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to also make a shout out, but this one is to Julian because I had a little error last week. I said last week that it was Neil Gaiman who is a Scottish writer, and that is incorrect. Neil Gaiman is actually English. It is Grant Morrison who I was thinking of, who's the Scottish Batman.
Grant Morrison is an awesome writer.
And yeah, that's all.
Alright guys, we got a good show for you today. Let's get to it. Okay, so new release that came out last week. Tuesday. Wait, I'm pretty sure you picked it up since you're the supposedly DC.
You know what? It did come out last week on Tuesday, but I wasn't able to get it until later because the PSN store update was gone for like a couple of days. They were really late with that. But the game, of course, we're talking about is Injustice: Gods Among Us. Now, I think I've said it on the show before that I'm a huge DC fan and that Batman is my heart and soul. So, of course, I was excited for this game. It has all my favorite characters, and it's a fighting game. I'm a big fan of fighting games as well. And I think we're starting to see a shift in fighting games, and I'm really enjoying it. Now, what I mean by that shift is that a game like Mortal Kombat and a game like Injustice, they have fully complete like modes, and like the story mode, like, okay, the story mode is like a full experience. Like, you are getting like a legit story mode here. There is an actual story. It is no longer these guys are just randomly fighting each other for some stupid reason or some stupid tournament, and the story is like throwaway, like how it is honestly in most fighting games. No, in
You
here,
take that back.
no, in here it is like a legit story, okay? And I love that. And of course, since it's with DC and all these different superhero characters, it gets really interesting. It's a fun, awesome story mode. And then beyond that, everything else is just so fleshed out. I know last week I was talking about Capcom, and I didn't even bring this up, but like I really feel like Capcom has been getting away with highway robbery with the type of games they've been putting out.
Absolutely.
To me, a game like Injustice, all right, is a complete package. It is worth $60. This game has tons of content. Instead of just the story mode, all right, you have the Star Labs mode, which is a ton of optional missions where they give you different stipulations, and there's tons of things to unlock. There's tons of costumes. There's backgrounds you can get and character icons. And then even on top of that, they have all these different battle modes. The online infrastructure is way better. Everything about this game is like quality and like worth it. And I'm bringing up Capcom because Capcom has been releasing stuff like Marvel vs. Capcom 3, which is a bare bones game. The game has nothing. The game has a story mode which really doesn't exist because there's really no story. And you beat the game and it shows a comic book page of, well, Dante defeated Galactus, and he went on and slayed demons, and that's it. That's all you get, and then you get
Dante.
yeah, you get your versus mode and online mode, and that's it. And to me, a game like that is not worth $60 at all, and they're like giving you nothing. Whereas a game like Injustice, I love it not only because it's a great fighting game, but because it has all this content in it, and that's why I love it. Now on to the actual game. The roster is really nice. I'm really impressed by the roster. And
How many?
I can't say off the top of my head. It's a good amount. I don't remember, but
Not
it's
even close.
It's a good amount. I want
Ballpark estimate.
Ballpark estimate 15 to 20.
Okay.
It might be more than that.
There are also a couple new characters as well. There are 4 characters that are slated to be released for DLC.
Yeah.
I think all of them have been leaked already, but the first one that have been confirmed is Lobo from yeah.
No, he's
DC.
a fan favorite. Yeah, from DC. No, he's a fan favorite. He should be really cool. He's a really cool character. But like, I really like some of the choices they made here, even though there are a couple I wasn't completely happy with. But for the majority of the roster, like, this is really nice. They put in characters you might not even expect them to put in there, like Solomon Grundy, who, if you don't know Solomon Grundy, who was born on a Monday.
Yeah. I didn't know that part.
He is an awesome character. I don't want to say he's like the DC version of Hulk, but he's like a Hulk-like character in that he could just beat the crap out of you and just smash you, and he's like mindless. He's awesome.
Classic bruiser.
Yeah, some of the characters. I will say that even though I'm a huge Batman fan, I was a little bit disappointed that this game is heavy Batman infused. I think
I'm glad you brought that up, Wade, because I was just thinking. I said the same thing to my friend Jesse. I was like, man, look at how massive the DC Rogues Gallery is, and like 6 of the characters are from the Batman series. That's a little ridiculous.
That's DC though. That's what sells DC, because you're gonna bring in any other character other than Wonder Woman, Superman, and all of Batman's characters, and nobody's gonna know what it is. Give me a character. What is it, like Stretch Man or?
Look, I would only let you slide because I could not name like another 5 that could take their place. That's
exactly.
The only reason
you can't name anything outside of what they've already given you.
I totally could.
Oh, really? Because you didn't know a lot about Aquaman when. Oh, I didn't know he had that many powers.
I didn't. I'm gonna get to Aquaman in a second. But the game is heavy Batman infused, and like, even though George is right that people are just familiar with those characters and they are the most popular, I still think it's a little bit of a waste and a missed opportunity to add other more interesting characters.
Agreed.
The ones I want to point out specifically is they have Bane and Catwoman in there. And now I could see, Dark Knight Rises, the movie, has Bane and Catwoman in it. So maybe they think, people really want to play those people. And actually, Catwoman's actually pretty fun to play with. Even though I'm not so crazy about her.
She would be.
Yeah, even though I'm not so crazy about her being in the game, she's an awesome character to play with. Bane, I'm kind of whatever about him. But, yeah, those two. Now, the other 2 that I'm kind of disappointed about, and originally I wasn't, they have Ares and Killer Frost in there. Ares is, of course, the god of war, and he ties in to Wonder Woman. And actually, in the comics, the DC version of Ares is actually really cool. He's actually a badass. Way more cooler than the Ares from God of War. But that's a whole other thing. But he sucks in the game. I don't like him. I think I don't like him too much. And Killer Frost is a huge waste also. If you really have to have a nice character, why not replace Catwoman or Bane with Mr. Freeze? I mean, come on. That's the guy to go with in DC who does the freeze stuff. But Killer Frost, he's a nice character. and she sucks. I don't think she's good.
At least they're
The
introducing people outside of
Yeah, that's
Batman. I
yeah,
mean,
I guess, but there's even there's a Flash villain called Captain Cold. I would have preferred him.
I actually know Captain Cold,
Yeah.
Why?
but he looks so cheesy though. I mean,
Yes,
it's
he
just like
looks.
Well,
he looks
I
like
mean,
a goofball.
in this game, they've redesigned everyone. They could have redesigned him to look cool.
yeah, it's kind of difficult to keep him looking the same but redesigned it and make it look cool. You know
Now,
what
some
I'm saying?
characters, I mean, maybe the characters I'm gonna name, maybe they're gonna end up being DLC and it won't matter. But Martian Manhunter missing, I think, is like what? He's in the background of a stage, and it's like, really? You totally could have been in this game, and
But
it
does
only
he
makes
really
sense.
fight that much? Again,
Yeah.
I'm not a DC guy. I don't know.
Yeah, Martian Manhunter can turn invisible. He can shapeshift. He has super strength. He can fly. He has
Yeah, his vision.
telekinesis. He needs to be in this game. I don't know why he's not playable.
I think
Dark
it's
Side.
because.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I think it's because unfortunately, if they did that, they'd go towards the other direction, in which they'd have like it'll be a Justice League game then, kind of similar to how it would be like Batman. Because currently you have 4 of the main Justice Leaguers actually a lot more than that. Flash,
Most of the
Superman.
people on the hero side are
Yeah,
Justice
they're
League.
all Justice League.
So I think that's maybe the reason why they didn't include him. Like they felt like they had to include him because he is an important member, but they didn't want to stack the roster with too many Justice League characters, so they
yeah.
did the Batman instead.
Actually, the hero roster is consistent of Justice League and Teen Titans. There is a good amount of Teen Titans in there, because they do have Nightwing, who of course was Robin in Teen Titans. They have Cyborg, and they have Raven, who's all grown up with a too deep voice. Her voice is too much in this game.
You know, speaking of the Teen Titans, I think what I imagine they wouldn't do this for like animation reasons. But Beast Boy would be an excellent.
I
it
thought
be an
Beast
awesome
Boy would be
addition.
really cool too, because he could just turn into different animals and beat your ass or whatever.
But I can only
Yeah.
imagine the pain in the ass that would be to like render and animate.
Yeah, and the only other character that I think is like missing is Darkseid, but again, Darkseid might be DLC.
Mhm.
And I only say Darkseid because he is literally the most powerful villain DC has. He's their main bad guy. Like he is the guy, you know. But other than that, I really like the roster. I really enjoy it. I'm glad they got in a couple cool. I'm glad people like Nightwing is in there and Solomon Grundy, like characters you might not expect to be in there, are in there.
I
Now
expected them to be in there.
I don't. I mean, I don't think they're a given, but I think it's cool that they're in there. Now my favorite character, and I wasn't going in expecting this, but my favorite character in the game is Aquaman. Aquaman is just simply amazing. He is my go-to character. He is who I main. I fell in love with him. I have since gone on to research Aquaman. I'm learning so much. I want to go and read Aquaman comics. I'm totally into the character. Aquaman's awesome, and I know he's always like the joke of DC Comics, but no more. You will respect the Trident.
Don't do it, Aquaman. He's much stronger than you are.
But when you play this game, I'm telling you, try out Aquaman. Do it. Do yourself a favor and try out Aquaman.
Just learn about Aquaman because he's actually not that bad.
Yeah, he's actually a really cool character.
A really cool iteration of Aquaman is on Batman Brave and the Bold. That one's a really good iteration of Aquaman as well.
Yeah.
But wasn't it like a joke type character
Yes,
though?
he was.
Yeah.
It's John DiMaggio who does Bender.
Yeah.
It's him just doing the most outlandish, like over the top hero, but he just says like the most ridiculous things, man. Like never trust a man with 2 legs. Stuff like that doesn't make sense. But he's like really, but he's entertaining. I guess is
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of voice actors, they did a really good job. They got most of the voice cast from the original Justice League Unlimited cartoon show.
Very nice.
And then even, I mean, Mark Hamill's not doing Joker, but the replacement's really good. He does a great job.
Yeah, I heard that guy. He wasn't too bad.
And even someone like Cyborg is voiced by the guy who voiced him on the Teen Titans cartoon. So They did a good job in getting the right voice actors for this game. Gameplay wise, a lot of people are like, well, this is just Mortal Kombat. It plays like Mortal Kombat. I mean, yes, it is made by the same people, but I would honestly say this game is its own beast and does play a lot different from Mortal Kombat. But like the comparison I would make is that this game is like Mortal Kombat in the way Marvel versus Capcom is like Street Fighter. You know what I'm saying? Like they have those, you input the moves a similar way, but they're completely different games.
Okay,
If that
right?
makes sense.
It makes
The,
makes
yeah, that
sense,
does
but
make sense.
I don't believe. Again, I haven't played it, so I mean, but looking from the footage and stuff like that, it looks like it would play just like Mortal Kombat, just similar. The concept is stringing the uppercuts, the knockups with the combos, and then trying to keep them knocked up as long as possible. That's what it looked like from watching the videos. And then of course they add the environment combos and all that
Yes, I
stuff
didn't
that they
even
add.
talk about that. The stages are amazing. This is another thing I'm gonna crap on Marvel vs. Capcom. I was disappointed with the stages, and I always thought this is a game with Marvel characters. The possibilities are limitless for like stages and costumes and stuff.
Mhm.
This game delivers all the fan service you could ever want in a game with a bunch of DC characters. The stages are awesome. The level interactions are awesome, and like yeah, people like because you can like literally like pick up a car and smash someone with it, and you know you're smashing people through buildings, and all of it is just like every match has like an epic feel, and every match really makes you feel like wow, these guys are like really powerful and like beating the crap out of each other. It's done really nicely well.
Yeah, but like the thing is with Capcom and their games and stuff, they always seem to make it focus for tournament play, professional play. So
Very
when
true.
you add like things like stages and all that stuff, and things that are interactive within the level, then that takes away from professional. Like when people play Smash Brothers professionally, they don't play with items. They play on
Yeah.
usually like the flattest stages, and they sometimes they'll play on something, but you'll never see them play like on Hyrule or whatever and stuff like that because they
Yeah, it's usually always Final D.
it's usually they focus on the characters themselves, and you can't. It's the stage would be too much of a variable that can mess things up, and
Now, see, I know what you're saying, and like I agree with you, but I'm even mean in like Marvel vs. Capcom, like the stuff going on in the background is not
mm,
like a whole lot as compared to this game.
right.
This game, you look in the background, you're like, oh crap, I see this character doing this, and it's really fun to just discover things as like if you're like a DC fan, you'll find like tons of nods and stuff.
Well, yeah, like
And
Mortal Kombat had that too, right? The
yeah,
backgrounds
yeah,
going on, like I remember the bridge, the classic bridge
right,
nighttime thing,
yeah.
and then they have I can't remember who's fighting in the background. They'll have like two random characters fighting on a bridge
Yeah,
that's
and
like
it's
right in the
cool.
background. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
One
Um,
thing I will give to them that I thought that was absolutely awesome is the seamless transition in between cutscene and actual combat. That I first saw it in the previous Mortal Kombat game, and they brought it over into this one as well. And it's like absolutely seamless. Your character will go run and do something. Batman will encounter Deathstroke. Deathstroke will talk shit. They'll get into a
yeah.
little scrap, and then they'll back off for a second, and then the combat starts like right after that. There's no, with Street Fighter, it's like you win next stage, and then it shows your character, and then it loads. There's like none of that.
And they'll
It's
say
just
some stupid catchphrase.
yeah.
Um,
I can't believe you won that round.
and also on your Smash Brothers thing, in this game you can go on the options and turn off level interactions.
Oh, okay.
You could totally do that. And then their final destination stage would be Atlantis. If you pick Atlantis, it is just a straight through level, and if you turn off the items, you just have yourself a regular fighting game.
Yep.
I
But
like
yeah,
that.
So what do you? I mean, you and Rico, what do you guys think? I mean, is this for? Do you see fighting games leaning more towards this direction? Should they
I
lean more towards this
I
direction?
hope they do, and I think they should.
Do you
Because
think Capcom is going to look at this game and say,
I really
maybe
hope
we
they
should
do.
I
step our game
actually
up?
don't think so. You actually brought up a really good point that I'd never really considered before. That actually tailoring their games to tournament fighters. I mean, a good example of that would be their interaction with the fighting game community in general. Even before Mortal Kombat was like super huge, I mean, they brought in Seth Killian, who used to just be like a Street Fighter guru, to be an actual member of staff on Capcom to have input and stuff with the games, and also to be like a bridge between the fans and the actual company. And they're also doing with other members. I do believe one of the huge tournament fighters, Combo Fiend, I believe he's now hired by Capcom to do stuff. So I don't think they're actually gonna go into that going to the more interactive and the more story centric games, because I don't think that's Street Fighter's style. And unfortunately it kind of sucks, because that's really what I feel is missing, and that's the kind of part they've been leaving out. And it's something I feel Wade brought it up earlier, is like they're sort of getting away with murder, because what they're doing is they're taking stuff that used to be unlockable after you beat the game and turning it into DLC. Now instead of unlocking an extra costume for the character, you have to purchase that for like $20 in a pack.
Well, yeah, that's not only them. That's
very true.
Yeah, that's a huge topic.
It really is.
So we should probably tackle that one of these weeks about DLC and on-disc DLC.
Yeah.
But
that one.
You guys recommend this game? Is this a buy? Is this
totally,
Yeah.
especially if you love DC.
You love DC. You love fighting games.
And fighting games in general. Yeah, I'd say pick it up. It looks. The thing is, I was skeptical about it too, because I'm very, very attached to the Street Fighter input system. But after kicking it around,
you can put it in there. This has the option.
Exactly. It's like they thought of everything. You can also set it up so that it works on the Street Fighter input system, and even the normal one isn't all that bad. So not only it has a slow learning curve, there's a ton to do. You get a lot for your $60 with this game, so that's why I would recommend it.
I mean, the writing's on the wall for Capcom. Mortal Kombat beat out sales of Street Fighter and Marvel vs. Capcom. It's obvious that like more people are going to be into a game like that, I think, with a lot of content, with a story mode.
Right.
Just saying. They need to do something.
The only thing,
that helped them out too.
That's very true. Yeah.
It was almost like a revival.
Mm-hmm.
So
they were dead for a while, man.
Which is a good segue.
Segue
into our.
It's the segue song.
One of our topics of the week, the segue song. All right. So our first topic of this week, Nintendo, I believe on the 17th, announced a couple new things in their Nintendo Direct web thing that they do randomly whenever they feel like it. And they mentioned that they're not technically remaking A Link to the Past, the Zelda game that came out on the Super Nintendo, but they're making a sequel, and it's gonna be based on the world that they created in the original, and then they're gonna use some of the it's gonna be on the 3DS, and they're gonna use some of the 3DS's capabilities for height, vertical gameplay, and all that crap. So, what do you guys think about this announcement? Does this intrigue you? And then also, I want to kind of open up the topic on just remakes and HD re-releases in general. Wade?
Well, to start with the Zelda, I have actually never played a top-down Zelda or the quote-unquote classic Zelda. My experience with Zelda is the 3D Zeldas. So when they announced this game, it really doesn't get me too excited. I don't really. I mean, I can't say I care for it because I just never played it. But I think it's cool because fans. And what happened?
No, just people are gonna hate you now.
Yeah, I just think you're digging yourself into a hole. So.
It's like, how does Wade never play Zelda? This guy shouldn't be on a
owned a
podcast.
Genesis as a child.
Owned a Genesis.
Went from Genesis to PlayStation 1, best decision ever made in my life. Anyways, what was I saying?
You want to receive hate mail. That's what you say.
But no, I think it is cool because I have seen online for years people clamoring for a new Link to the Past or a remake of it or what have you, that a lot classic Zelda players, A Link to the Past seems to be like their thing. So it's really cool that Nintendo seems to be listening to the fans in that regard and making this game. And I'm sure it will sell well because I've seen enough people want something relating to A Link to the Past for a while.
What do you think, Rico, about it? Link to the Past, Part 2, Part 12, whatever. A Link to the Past, or I don't know.
I think that more than likely it will do well, man. Nintendo is very, very fan-centric, which is sort of why, even though I don't play a lot of their games, I do give them a lot of respect in that regard, because they tend to they know how to keep their fans, and they know how to get new ones without necessarily exploiting or taking advantage of them too much. And this game is good, I think, because it'll bring a lot of people who like Wade and also myself, who's never really experienced the top-down, the really, really old ones. They give them a chance to sort of relive that, but with a sort of like a more modern look on it. And as far as remakes in general, those I'm not quite decided on them yet, because sometimes they're good. But I feel like they're traps, because you get your hopes up expecting something like the original, but better.
Now, when I say remakes, I'm not technically saying like reboots, like the Tomb Raider one. That was just a reboot of a franchise, but technically wasn't a remake of any of the games. Tomb Raider Anniversary was a remake of, I believe, Tomb Raider 1 or 2.
Gotcha.
That's what I'm.
They did that?
Yeah, they did. Yeah. But that's what I'm more referring to. Not too much reboots like Mortal Kombat and all that stuff, but I'm talking about remakes, like as if we wanted a Final Fantasy VII. We want a remake, not like we want something similar to that. But how do you guys feel about like the HD releases, re-releases, and
But before I get into that, I want to clarify something. Did I say I thought I said about A Link to the Past that I can't say I hate it because I never played it? That's not bad, right? No one's gonna eat me over that, right?
Who cares, Wade?
Because I felt this
We've
feel
moved
bad.
on. We've moved on.
I started to feel bad.
It's okay.
I don't hate
We need
Zelda.
somebody to hate.
What was I gonna say? So I like certain HD collections. I think in certain aspects it should come out, and if fans are asking for it, they should do it. There have been a bunch that made no sense. Like I think they had like a Splinter Cell HD collection. Like who really wants to play through Splinter Cell again? Let's be honest. And the ones that came out on PlayStation 2, like
I love Splinter Cell.
You would replay those in HD?
I would see. I'll give you my opinion on all that when you're done.
Okay, because I think other games like Final Fantasy X HD, I look at Final Fantasy X as like that's a classic, and that deserves to be played by as many people as possible. And there might be a lot of people who never played the original, and this is a great chance for them to jump onto a classic game. I don't look at Splinter Cell as like a classic game to warrant it getting the HD collection, And like I said, it matters about the fans of the series. Like I bought the Metal Gear Solid HD collection because those are my favorite games, and I want the best version of them possible, so I would get the HD collection of my favorite games. But then like other times it's kind of like, really, do we really need this HD of this? And it gets annoying, but I think sometimes it's warranted.
Yeah, because sometimes you play that game and it's just been a long, long time, and when there's huge gaps in technology, that's when I think it's a little bit more appropriate to do one, And I like I said, I can't really hate on it because there's a lot of HD remixes that I would love to see. And even before it was a really super HD remix, one of the first times I really had a chance to play Chrono Trigger was when it was remade on the PlayStation 1 in disc form.
Yes.
So because of stuff like that, I have to go ahead and, because you guys brought it up, you get to experience you get to expose a whole new generation of gamers to classic, really, really, like involved storytelling and good gameplay. That's that actual combination of it, instead of just a little bit of one and a little bit of the other.
Okay, well, I'm going to give you my opinion, which might be a little unpopular. I feel it's first off, as regards to the Link to the Past too. I think Nintendo. I think they're starting to ride that
Nostalgia train.
the nostalgia train a little bit too hard now. They're doing it with like the classic Mario version, like the new super new Super Mario Wii U, Super Mario 2 12 or whatever they're on right now, and I think they're not being innovative, which I mean it might be a little unfair, but I think they're kind of going back to what worked in the past, and they're not progressing forward, and but I feel like Nintendo has been doing that for quite a while now, since they haven't really come out with any new IP since Pikmin, which was a great game, and I wish they would try to do that with every new system that they do. Come out with a new franchise, not freaking Wii Sports and Nintendo garbage, whatever that Nintendo Land.
Nintendo Land is awesome. You need to back off.
You shut your face.
You need to back off.
But it's gimmicky. That's not a new game, so to speak. It's just mini games. That's Mario Party without Mario. You know what I'm saying?
Not to mention Wind Waker HD.
Okay, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. Which gets to my next point. I feel like remakes and HD remakes. I feel this is going to replace backwards compatibility. Which is what I'm fearing. Like, they're doing it a lot, and now we've heard that rumors that we haven't heard new. This is a fact. The new PlayStation is not gonna have backwards compatibility, and most likely the new Xbox won't have it either. And I feel like this is a way for
them to force the choice on you.
Yeah, the development companies they're selling you the same game again. HD, whatever. I mean, I understand if you're a fan and Wade, I know you have all the PlayStation 2. I know you have your PlayStation 2 running, and I know you have all your Metal Gear Solids, and I know you have your PlayStation. You can play all those, and you have the originals. It's like, are you willing? Because I know they came out with an HD collection. Now they're coming out with another release. By the way,
yeah, I'm mad about that. I'm very mad.
I feel like they're taking advantage of us. It's like, oh, these guys are gonna fucking just be stupid enough and buy it again, and I support remakes if the technology at the time couldn't really portray like present the vision that they originally wanted. Kind of like, I mean, I know George Lucas uses that excuse. Like, I mean, last week I said remake Final Fantasy VII. And I mean, you compare Final Fantasy VII to the other Final Fantasies that were on PlayStation 1.
Yeah, it's a huge gap.
It was a huge gap, and they didn't understand the technology at the time, or the system. And they didn't work out. It was their first attempt at a 3D
RPG
game. So in that regards, I believe since that game artistically was so unique and it stood out a lot. Like that was. The characters and all the character designs, it's just the fact that the technology couldn't support their designs at the time. I feel like games like that should be remade. But
yeah, I agree.
About that Metal Gear Solid Saga collection, I'm really mad about it because when I bought my Metal Gear Solid HD collection, I bought the special edition with the art book. It was expensive, all right? And now you're coming out with the Metal Gear Saga, which is like better, and I'm like, come on.
That's exactly my point. And then I feel like they're going to start coming out with HD remakes of like PlayStation 3 games on the PS4.
I was going to say that
they're going to do, or they're just going to release them on whatever their virtual console crap that they're going to have on their thing. So you have to buy it again, and I feel like this is what they're doing. They're making their money off you buying the same game over and over again. Like right now, it's not too bad. But I feel like this is like they're heading towards that.
It's very plausible. I mean, look at it. It's happening in movies right now. That's probably where they're getting that trend from.
Right.
Did you just say movies, Rico?
Oh. Absolutely.
Oh, is that another? What's the Segway song, Rico?
Segway song.
Speaking about movies, they just announced Ratchet and Clank and Heavenly Sword his movies. Why don't you tell us about him, Wade?
Okay, so yesterday they announced that they are making a theatrical Ratchet and Clank animated movie. This is going to come out in 2015. Insomniac is heavily involved, and even one of the senior writers from Insomniac is writing a movie. There was even a small trailer attached. There really wasn't a trailer about with footage from the movie. It was more of an announcement trailer, and it had Ratchet and Clank, and I think the guy's name is Captain Quark or Quack. I don't know. The guy in the green suit who's like a superhero. They're like messing around. And he's like in the trailer, he's talking about like, oh, we don't need the animators, and Ratchet's like, what do you mean? Of course you need the animators, and then the animators like start messing around with him, and he's doing all types of dances.
We'll put the video on the thing.
Yeah. And the company that is making it is Rainmaker Entertainment, the animation studio behind Escape from Planet Earth and Blockade Entertainment. So yeah, this is really happening. It's like the real deal. Like again, I want to mention that this is a theatrical release. This isn't like a straight to DVD Ratchet and Clank affair. Like this is going to the movie theater. I personally think maybe too little too late. Who's really into Ratchet and Clank? But at the same time, I know kids and I know how kids are, and I feel like I know how kids movies work. That if this thing is like advertised correctly and it looks appealing to kids, they won't care that it's based on a video game, that there even is a video game. They will want to go see this movie. And so in that regard, I think it's kind of smart that if the movie's successful, then they already have all these bunch of kids who are ready to go buy the game. And I'm pretty sure if they're announcing this, I'm not going to be surprised if they're going to announce like a tie-in Ratchet and Clank game to go with the movie. And I think there's not a whole lot of risk here. I think it could be successful. It's just I think us and like maybe gamers who aren't really into Ratchet and Clank, it's like kind of whatever. And I don't think Ratchet and Clank is like really that popular with gamers for it to be a big deal. But it like I said, kids and kids movies, it could be a hit. You never know.
Well, I think Ratchet and Clank was a pretty big game back in the PlayStation 2 era. I think it fell off in the PS3. I think there was maybe two games for it.
They've had, I think, 2 or 3 main game releases and then a couple PSN games as well.
Right. I agree. I think this is a good idea, to almost reboot a falling off franchise, especially with kids. Like you come out with a movie. I mean, movies are really meant to sell like merchandise. The ones that want to make a lot of money. Star Wars. It's gonna make its money, but where the real money's gonna come from is from the friggin' T-shirts, lunchboxes, and toys. And same with Transformers and G.I. Joe, all that stuff. So I really think if this comes out and it's a big hit with kids and stuff, and the kids dig it up, then you've created a brand new audience to get these games. And
and it's totally tailored to kids. Like the IP is tailored to kids,
and it's also tailored to us too. I mean, like if you've played the Ratchet and Clank games, those games are hilarious. Like the humor.
I have a little bit.
It's there, especially with the what was his name, Captain whatever.
Quark.
Yeah, he's pretty funny. But yeah, definitely. And along with I don't know if you mentioned the Heavenly Sword.
Yes, the same company also announced that they are making a straight to DVD and Blu-ray Heavenly Sword movie. Not a whole lot of information was released about that, except that they are making it along with the Ratchet and Clank. So I'm guessing they signed some deal with Sony to make these movies. Heavenly Sword is more interesting because that game and that franchise has been MIA for a while. Well, she did appear in PlayStation All-Stars, Nariko, but before that, it's really been hush-hush. And I know before Sony cut ties with Ninja Theory, I think is the name of the studio, they were working on a part 2. They were, but then Sony didn't want that anymore. But Sony still retains the rights of Heavenly Sword, and they're going ahead with this movie. I think like Ratchet and Clank, they might want to come out with this movie, gauge interest, and if people like it and it's successful enough, maybe then they'll come out with another game.
See, I don't think that's going to be gauging much interest of the DVD release. You know, those movies like that come out all the time. Like there was one for Dante's Inferno, there's one for Mass Effect.
There was a Dante's Inferno one?
Yes, there was. And okay. What else was there? There was a bunch of them. Those don't really sell. You know, only the people that really care about the
actual franchise.
The actual franchise is going to sell. And you know what? Heavenly Sword, you know, it was great visually. It was fun to play for the 3 hours that it lasted. But I don't think maybe we'll see it come back in PS4. But to make a movie, I think that's just a waste of time. I just don't think that the fan base is there, and I don't think there's enough people that is willing to invest in that. And that
I liked Heavenly Sword, but
it
they
was
probably
okay.
should have chosen a stronger title to have tried something like that with, like Ratchet and Clank. Ratchet and Clank,
or maybe Jack and Dexter, maybe another one like that, and have like
that would have been a better choice as well.
Great, you know, and I think this is when we can kind of just branch off. It's like, what kind of movies, video game movies, do you want to see, and do you think that would be actually really good and help out, you know, the IP? And you don't mind. So I mean,
I think about this a lot. I really want a Mass Effect movie. I think it works too well for a movie for it not to be made.
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, maybe this is going into lore and people may not know this. I mean, probably the First Contact War would probably be a good topic for that movie, in my opinion, because it, you know, revolves around them discovering the Turians and all that stuff. Even though apparently it didn't last that long, the First Contact War was maybe.
You don't want to see a Shepard movie? Shepard?
I don't think so. No, because, you know, everybody Shepard is different.
That's a very good point. There's no way you'd be able to please the audience.
Everybody. Yeah, everybody has their own Shepard.
My Shepard.
Not everybody's Shepard looks exactly the same. I wouldn't want to say it would either have to be before the games or after. Maybe something that would, you know.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, now that you mention it.
And I don't think there's any characters, I think, in the game that would, you know, make a good movie.
What about an Archangel miniseries? What?
See, the thing is, when you have an alien as the main protagonist, then you kind of like, you know, you kind of disconnects you from
the audience.
Even
that's
though
right.
he's so cool, but he's so good as a.
You know what? That's right. He's a pair.
Yeah, it's like that's like I mean, a Shepard and Garrus movie would be awesome. It'll be like the best buddy
cop movies
ever.
Shepard and Garrus, that would be great.
Yeah, I don't think having his own movie, and because, you know, I watched the James Vega one, the one that they came out, the anime that they came out with. It was all right. It wasn't the greatest.
Vega had his own anime?
Yeah, it's pretty much his backstory, you know, because he talked about when he was leading in the game or whatever. He used to be a squad leader or whatever.
Man,
these people got killed.
Shut up, James. You suck. Jesus.
There's been a lot of bad. They're speaking about game movies. There's been tons of bad ones, but I think we can start transitioning to making good ones now. I think they are working on an Assassin's Creed one, right? And I think Michael Fassbender. I always say his name wrong.
Fassbender.
Fassbender. But they're making an Assassin's Creed movie, and I feel like there's a couple others in development. Like maybe I think we can start entering like a good golden age of video game movies. I think it's totally possible.
I think so. As long as they stick to the
script.
You know, they not the script.
The game script.
Sometimes
to the heart of
the heart of the game, like to the fans and what make the game cool, and I think, you know, again, video game fans, like I always say, they don't know what they want, and they're gonna want
fickle.
They're gonna want a game or a movie to be based on one of their games. You know, to be like story, you know, line for line story. You know, just like, oh, if they're gonna make a movie, then they might as well do it on Connor or Ezio, or, you know, I want to base it on that story, which I think is kind of stupid because
you've already experienced
experienced it, you know, and that experience the reason why that experience translated so well is because it was a video game and it was interactive and you could play it. So
Exactly.
that's something, gamers need to understand that when you make a movie, you gotta kind of
You have to
gotta
adapt
be
it
a
to the
movie. You
genre.
gotta adapt it. Yeah, it's gotta adapt, and you have to be forgiving on some things. The way Resident Evil kind of carried it out, I didn't mind too much of the new characters that they introduced. I did mind though the whole Super Saiyan Mila Jovovich or whatever her name is.
You can say it. The shitty story. Go ahead.
Yeah, the story was pretty stupid. Like the way how they try to incorporate the main characters, and I think they should have just left the main characters out. The
Yeah.
first one was decent, and it looked like it was going on the right path. The second one, it was nice to see the game characters in there, but
I think what happened is like what happened. The first one was decent, and they thought, hey, maybe we can do a little bit better if you start putting the game characters in it. But then they didn't really adapt them well because, again, as you stated, those characters are kind of iconic and symbolic because of your interactions with them from the game. So when you remove that aspect of it, they're left a little bit hollow.
right. Like I mean, for an Assassin's Creed movie, I think they can do. The reason why you can do a movie on that is because it's so broad. It's based on history, so it's not based on any one character. So you can do pretty much anything, any
You can adapt that
historical
anywhere.
moment. Yeah, so that's a great movie to do it on, and you're not limited to whatever the game is. You can just you can just base it off the concepts that the game introduced, and you can do your own thing, which is good. Those are the type of games or movies that I want to see made on games, not based off the actual story of certain games. It's games with large universes. Halo, of course, I was always going to mention Halo, but that you don't technically have to do it on Master Chief. I would love to see it on Master Chief because he's the bee's knees, but but you could do it on pretty much anything in that universe, and it's a big universe. So, what do you think, Rico? What kind of movie would you like to see besides Mass Effect?
I would love to see a fighting game properly adapted into a good movie, but I think what would be really, really awesome would be like a Guilty Gear live action movie, not a cartoon one. I think a Guilty Gear live action movie would be excellent.
But what is the story in Guilty Gear? That's the thing. Like, the characters are so outlandish. Like,
let me see if I can summarize it. I know there was a war of some sort and humans were somehow turned into what are called gears, and the gears were dangerous and they're hunted by the Holy Order. But usually, there's lots of like sub conspiracies and stuff. And then there's one guy who left the Order who's badass, named Soul Bad Guy. The fire guy, he's epic.
You sound so into it. Just like Soul Bad Guy.
Guilty Gear 2 was
he
an
is
awesome
cool
fun
though.
game.
Like he kind of just stands there with his hand in his pocket and his sword.
And he doesn't use a sword. It's just
he uses the
it's
hilt,
a hot
right?
plate with a handle. That's what it's like, a hot plate with a handle. And
I like his like little jab. He just kind of just shoves the handle in your stomach. Just
all casually. It's like, hey.
But Rico, you mentioned good fighting game movies. You didn't like Mortal Kombat.
Well, it's been a while since those Mortal Kombat, and movies have come a long way since then. I feel like the Mortal Kombat gets unfairly judged because we're looking at it with more modern eyes. You got to look at it back when it came out, like you're 14 again.
Yeah, and it's cheesy, good fun.
Exactly.
You were 14 when that movie came out.
I don't remember when it came out, to be honest.
You old bastard.
When did it come out, actually?
I don't know. I think it came out like in 97, maybe?
No,
yeah, it was 96, 97.
Yeah, I was around 14, 15.
Oh my god, you're so old, Rico.
Not old. But, I just want to not see any more crap like the latest Street Fighter Chun-Li movie, where it's obvious no one on that movie had ever seen anything about Street Fighter. Yes, you can argue that the Street Fighter backstory isn't all that in depth, right, but at the same time, it was just shambles and bad acting, and Taboo from Black Eyed Peas as Vega. Really? Sorry guys, we ran out of budget, so I owe this guy from Black Eyed Peas a favor. So now he's Vega. Sorry.
Yeah, I feel that, but fighting games is a difficult,
Absolutely. It's hard to translate.
To tackle. I think Mortal Kombat, since now it has a very strong story. I mean, it's not that strong, but strong in fighting game standards. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe you can make a movie on it, but then again, our standards have, for movies have changed since then. So if they made a Mortal Kombat movie now, like reboot it, it would be so corny and cheesy, and we would just kind of have to accept it, like the cheesiness of the story.
I was actually
it would
gonna
be
say,
like a cheesy kung fu movie. That's what it would be.
I was actually gonna say, they've pretty much been doing a Mortal Kombat movie. They have the YouTube series called Mortal Kombat Legacy,
well,
and it is live action, and it actually is pretty good.
Yeah, it's decent. There's some things that I mean, I think the fact that it's nice and short and they're small, it's very episodic, is what you kind of accept it, if that makes sense.
And Michael Jai White is the greatest Jax ever.
Yeah, but he's not coming back.
Why not?
The next season, he's not coming back in the next season.
So they had to replace him with a different Jax, or maybe just
they replaced actually a lot of people from the original one. They do have the original Shang Tsung as in the next season. So
like the Shang Tsung from the 90s. Shang Tsung.
Your soul is mine. Yes.
For real?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Look at the trailer. There's a trailer on there, but like they made Raiden look like he's just young and Asian. So I don't know. Like they changed the original Raiden that they had. Maybe no, I wouldn't say a Legend of Zelda movie would be good.
Why not?
I don't.
Because Link does not talk. That is why.
Oh wow! Damn, what a good point. Holy shit!
Any Nintendo game, I don't think would. Maybe Metroid.
Woohoo!
Because that was a bad movie when they did make it.
What?
Mario.
Yeah, there would be, but that doesn't count. John Leguizamo.
You know what? I used to love that movie. By the way, I used to have it on
hilarious
videotape, and I remember what I did with it, and I'm pretty sure it's still at the old freaking summer camp I used to work at, and I left it there.
Way to go, George.
As a kid, George, were you like, wow, this is nothing like the game at all?
You know what? I as a kid, I didn't remember that much. Like I didn't focus too much when I was a kid watching movies. It was just like when I saw things that I liked, then I would get excited, and it's like, oh, it's Mario, yay! And then I remember the Super Nintendo gun.
Yeah.
And then the freaking the Bowser scene when he actually turns into like a reptile for like a split second. I got so excited, and then the fact that it didn't happen pissed me off so much.
Oh my goodness!
Because he gets zapped with the thing, right? With the gun, and then he's like in the thing, and he's like starts turning into like Jello, and then you see him turn into like a T-Rex for like 2 seconds. It's like, oh snap, it's gonna get real. And then
it's like, oh sorry guys, our budget just ran out.
There it goes. Yeah, that was a stupid movie.
That movie is supposedly why Nintendo will never do another movie again. Like they're just gonna avoid it.
I mean, you got to admit, like, their properties are not meant for movies. I think Metroid is probably the only one that could pass as that, like, an actual serious movie, because it was pretty much based on Alien. So.
Oh, sad. Yeah.
There was a lot of influence was from Alien for.
Yeah, the strong female lead.
Yeah. Flying
through space, killing aliens. I can see the parallels.
But all right, that wraps up this week's episode. Thanks again, everybody that's listening. Please leave comments. Let us know what you think, please. We really appreciate it, and say whatever you want, whether it's good, whether it's bad. If you like or Resident Evil 5,
Aquaman sucks.
Yes, Aquaman.
I'm like, you haven't played the game.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Keep an eye out for new episodes. We're also going to be doing some reviews on some of the summer movies that are coming out. Iron Man will be the first one. And yeah, and also subscribe to us on iTunes. Thanks again. Thanks again to All Hail the Mustache for our music. We love you guys, and if you haven't heard from them, please check out their YouTube page. We'll have the link below. And I think that wraps up for this week.
Yeah.
Segway song.
Segway song.
Take it easy, guys.